between the two of them.
The inside of Coates.
Barker gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round 3 of the Virtual Reality Racing Club, the TT Cup. We are at the Catalunya circuit in Barcelona. I am joined by Steve Proudley. Steve, how are you this evening?
I'm very well, mate, and looking forward to some more TT door rubbing. I'm sure the Audi body shops have been busy in the week since we were at Brands Hatch, and now we're over the water at Barcelona, and looking forward to some fantastic racing this evening.
Absolutely. We cannot wait. And hopefully everyone that's watching cannot wait either, as you can see on the screen now. So we've got the MotoGP layout. So we've got the slightly extended circuit going into turn 10, that slightly extended, rather than having that tight hairpin, it's going to be a nice long sweeping corner. And also we're missing out the last chicane, as you can see on the screen there. So turns 13, that long right-hander straight into then the last corner. So completely missing that last chicane. That's really going to it's going to add something towards basically what people are going to do in terms of strategy, and also using their push to passes, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're going to come out of, towards the start-finish straight. They're going to come on full push to pass, which is a feature of this TT Cup. And I think this straight will give them maximum opportunities to use that push to pass. And, we should see some fantastic overtaking manoeuvres into turn 1. And just got to watch out on that last corner that they don't activate it too soon, and it generates a bit of understeer because it's very easy to run wide in that last turn.
Absolutely. It's going to be a lot of different strategies, I am sure. Obviously, we've got 2 15-minute races here with a reverse grid for the top 12 of race 1. Qualifying is currently underway. I just want to say, actually, first off, on YouTube, good evening to Dave Jones. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching this. We've just got Stapleford on the timing sheet at the moment with a 2:04.5. I'm guessing this is just sort of potentially warm-up laps for these guys. Obviously, qualifying hasn't been going on that long. Anyone to particularly watch out for, Steve, from last round?
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, last round, it throws up a real mixed sort of bag. I mean, we've got Marshall, who is the current championship leader. He's always one to watch, and he always puts on a good showing qualifying, although he is carrying 30 kilos of ballast, which he's a previous chat with him just before we went live. He was saying it's really affecting him in the braking zone, so he's costing him a little bit of time. I was talking to Max Edmondson pre-race in the drivers' chat, and he was putting in some reasonable times. Isaac Smith, although this week he's not in his usual VR, he's racing on a screen, so he's maybe going to be a little bit slower than normal. But those guys were predicting, maybe optimistically, a 52.6 round here. Now, just to remind the viewers that are joining us for the first time, they're not allowed to use the push to pass feature in qualifying. It is just the basic grunt of the Audi that gets them round in qualifying.
Absolutely. So we've got Lamy on the screen at the moment, just going through the MotoGP complex. This is the last section. This is the biggest change. All the other track is completely the same. The track is identical apart from this last section here. So you see they're going to go round. It's a nice sweeping right-hander following into a small braking zone and then through the last corner. You've got to make sure that you maximise the curve on the exit to try and get as he goes a little bit wide onto the entry going into the last turn. That will hurt his top-end speed going down, because you see someone go off just out of shot there. We're now running on board with Neil now, 1:53.493. So a quick lap time on the board straight away, but not as quick as Nolo, who's got a 1:52.806 already, and there's still 5.5 minutes of qualifying left.
Yeah, Nola's definitely one to watch, and obviously I missed him in my in the last segue there. Jack Nola is second in the championship. He's running 27 kilos of ballast, so to be putting in a 52.8 in with the ballast on, that's a pretty cracking lap time, to be fair to him, really setting the pace. I know, I think it was Stapleford in the practice session prior to this, he was top of the timing sheets, so we need to watch out for Stapleford. He'll be going strong and putting a good time in, I think.
Exactly, a lot of strong contenders in this race. Like I said, Barcelona is really going to throw up some stuff. One good thing as well is, and what you probably could take advantage of, I'm sure drivers may take advantage, if they can actually gain some time by sitting behind someone and trying to get their toe down the main straight, that could potentially also hamper, maybe a tenth and a half down the straight. So could be some tactics involved in that as well. We're going to have to wait and see. As currently on screen at the moment, we've got Stapleford just switching over to Marshall in the number 33 Audi. Quite a nice livery. There's some really, really good liveries in this series. Really excited to see them a little bit more as we come down into the MotoGP complex.
Yeah, and I'm just at the top 8 at the moment at this early stage of qualifying, are just separated by that 1 second as we're on board with Marshall, but I do expect Marshall to get quite a bit closer to that time as Hayden nips in there as well. Edmondson's up to 5th. So yeah, the boys are starting to get the tyres warmed up, they're starting to get those laps in, track evolutions coming to them, and it's a fixed setup, so the guys all attack qualifying with 30 litres of fuel on board. So literally from the green light in the pit lane for qualifying, they just stay out there for the session and just put as many laps in as they can.
I think that's one of the things to really take into account as well.
Just seen Brennan now in 3rd place, but look at Stapleford, he's 5 thousandths off the pole position time at the minute. Nola still on pole with a 152.8. Stapleford just 0.005 of a second off. Brennan a further 10th off. Stansfield 0.3. So qualifying's really hotting up now, and the guys are putting in some cracking times. Just on with Rich Hayden now. He's currently in 9th place, 8/10 off the pace. Speaking with him in practice before the guys went live, he was just struggling a little bit. He felt it was overdriving the car somewhat. He was just struggling to get to grips with the track and the car combo this evening. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes in the race. But before that, it'd be interesting to see if he can improve on his time in the last 2 minutes 30 seconds of this qualifying session. Just apologies to anyone that's noticed, we seem to have lost my co-commentator at the moment, Dan, so just bear with us while we get him back on comms. Edmondson cracks up into 4th place with a 153.058, so he's just 2.5 tenths off now. So the top 4 split by 2.252 of a second. Stansfield in 5th is just 3 tenths off. Rich Smith is 0.316 off, so they're really, really close times now. Still following Hayden around, just seeing if he can improve, but at the moment he's down in 10th, and he's not making any headway on his best time at the minute. Although Marshall's popped up into 4th place, just as I expected. I really did expect Marshall to get a better time in, and he hasn't disappointed. He's just 0.239 off the pole time now. There's just following following Smith round now in 7th, 0.316 off pole. See if he can go any quicker. And he needs to find a couple of tenths, and he can literally jump up to 2nd place. It's really crazy close at the moment. Just this is what one mate racing really brings, and the fact when you throw it in there that it's a fixed setup, then it really does make the racing very, very close. I believe we've got Dan back in comms with us.
We do indeed. Apologies everyone, my internet decided it didn't want to be internet anymore, so it sort of dropped me out, but we are back. It's all been reset and we are ready to go. What have I missed then? What have I missed, Steve?
Mate, just look at that timing screen. Look at that 0.005. a tenth, 2 tenths, 2.5 tenths, 3 tenths, 0.316. It's crazy close. As I said it would be, it's absolutely, the lads are on fire. They're really pushing the times, and they are really pushing each other. It's insane. I was just sort of pointing out, obviously it's a one make, but it's also a fixed setup, so it is literally down to how the drivers can adapt to the setup they're given, and then just put the laps in practice and racecraft. It absolutely awesome.
Exactly. I think this is one of the things I actually, one of the things I was touching on before I lost connection. Yeah, it's as you say, it completely goes to show that it's just solely the drivers, and it is the drivers, as you say, how quickly they can adapt, how fast they can adapt, and that by not having a setup, if you are sort of a bit more, as we see Marshall go a little bit wide. Not too sure what was happening there, just running a little bit wide. Interesting racing line.
I think that goes back to his comments earlier. You remember when he said with the ballast he's got on, if he tries to turn in under heavy braking, the back end snaps out on him, and I think it literally stepped out as he entered the braking zone there, and I think he was just trying to correct it there.
I see. Something to watch out for, that Dave needs to watch out for, definitely then, because I'm not entirely sure where, for example, if you've got the ballast that's maybe slightly further to the front, it would explain the fact that the front car's digging in a little bit more. You're getting a little bit more sort of rotation on the rear. The car wants to swap around a little bit. So, no, Dave's going to have to watch out for that, especially in the race. Qualifying is one thing. Obviously, race is a completely different thing. As we've got Smith on your screen, a little bit of a slowed out. Not sure what is happening there. I believe people are actually coming round to the end of qualifying now. So, at the moment, I don't think anyone's going to beat Nola. Stapleford is actually still out on a lap. He hasn't crossed the line yet. Not too sure if he's any quicker. But at the moment, Nola is still leading with a 1:52.806, which, as you say, Steve, is very, very close.
Yeah, Stapleford's finished his lap now, so he's in the pits. But I mean, Stansfield, he's still on a lap in 6th, and he only needs to find a 10th, and he's go up 2 or 3 places. It's crazy.
It really, really is. And that is the end of qualifying. Here are your qualifying results. We have Nola, Stapleford, and Brennan rounding out the top 3. Marshall in P4, Edmondson in P5, Stansfield P6, Smith P7, O'Farrell P8, Neil 9th. Rounding out the top 10 is Hayden with a 1:53.609, Press 11th, Sutton, Laramie, and then I believe that rounds out. Only 13 cars for this particular round. However, it's not going to detract anything at all from the racing that we're going to have judging by these qualifying times, is it?
No, absolutely not. It will be close racing. There will be a little bit of door rubbing, as in all same make manufacturer racing. We've got some real class drivers on the grid, some very fast drivers, and they will all be going for that win. It's anybody's race. We've had a few different winners throughout the season so far. So yeah, absolutely anyone's to capitalise on.
Absolutely. I think it's also going to, again, show how people can adapt. Again, we have been saying someone like with Dave Marshall with that extra weight and extra ballast. How is that going to fare in the race? That's going to obviously give excess. It's going to give a lot more tyre wear, but it's also how well that people manage that tyre wear.
Yeah, well, that's it. And it goes back to my point about it being a fixed setup, because obviously, if it wasn't fixed setup, you get a bit of ballast. You can potentially tune a certain amount of that ballast out by altering, brake bias, other suspension settings. But it's not possible. You've got to basically run with what you're given.
Yeah, exactly. And as we say, we keep saying it's going to make for some cracking racing, especially around a track like this. I am being told as well that we do have Jack Nola in the commentary booth waiting to be interviewed. So I believe when we're ready, we're going to jump over there. Steve, do you want to jump over, or would you like me to? Oh, actually,
Hello, Jack. How are you, buddy?
I'm good.
Do you enjoy that?
Yes, well, it was a little bit tense from how close it was, from being as it was the first lap and the lap wasn't perfect.
No, but you really set the bar reasonably high there from the start. But we were just saying, literally, if anyone behind you improved by a tenth, then they could go up 2 or 3 places. It was incredibly close. I mean, did you feel secure at any point?
I was feeling secure because I knew if no one had pitted, the tyres would have gone off enough that they wouldn't really have gone faster. Because I was able to go faster where my mistake had happened, but the rest of the lap was falling off. So I knew no one had backed off to cool the tyres. I knew no one had pitted, so I was pretty safe.
The big question is, what's the plan for the race? Is there a plan, or is it just nail it and see what happens?
plan is don't bottle the start, don't bottle the middle, and don't bottle the end.
Yeah, I mean, just talking about the start, obviously these Audis have got the DSG box, so there's no clutch. It's a case of get the revs right and bang it into gear at the green lights. Is it an art form? Is it? Have you got that mastered?
It's a different RPMs they prefer. I go with what I go with. I know others go with different. And it all depends, as the infamous with these cars, the push to pass, where people are going to use them. Who's going to use them at turn 1? Who's going to use them at turn 3? At the start. So we'll have to see.
Absolutely, mate. Well, I wish you all the best of luck for this for race 1, Muddy, and hopefully we'll see you on the podium at the end of the race. Good luck, Jack.
Thank you.
That was Jack Noller. Interesting. He was feeling reasonably comfortable. Put that qualifying lap in very early on, even though he said himself he made a mistake at one point. So he knew he could actually go faster if he needed to. So he's a driver with a little bit of confidence going into this race.
I think, to be fair, if you can put it on pole with your first lap and have some time in hand, I think confidence, and to have that confidence going through there is going into race 1 is not only expected, but I think sort of almost required. You need that confidence going in, especially if we just got Cursor Pilots on YouTube saying good luck, Jack. Indeed, good luck to Jack, and obviously good luck to everyone else that is currently racing. Yeah, it's going to be an incredible race 1. If Jack can really sort of find that pace initially, considering, as he said, he has got some pace in that car and he has got some time left in the car, if he can pull out a little bit of a gap, then I think, all being well, potentially for Jack, this could be a lights to flag finish for him.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dave Marshall's leading the championship at the minute with Jack Noller in second place, so he's obviously put himself in pole position and given himself every chance to beat Marshall in this race, as we're waiting for the lights to come on now. Exactly.
Lights are about to go on for race 1. This is it. Lights are going on. Noller's on the racing lights, can get potentially a little bit more grip going off, and away they go. This is it for round 3, race 1 of the VRRC TT Cup. As I think it looks to be, Noller's got a very, very good start. It looks to be all pretty even Stevens going down into turn 1. I think Noller's pulled a little bit of a gap going down to Stapleford. All going to turn 1. Looks relatively clean so far. No little bit of... Well, actually, to be fair, it looks very, very clean going through. Everyone's pretty much where they were. A couple of side-by-side action going through as we see someone go off right down the back of the field. That was the number 99 car of Sutton, as you see on your screen there. Got a little bit wide.
I think Marshall's made a move up to third place as well when they went through the Renault turn. He managed to be up the inside, and we see him just battling there, trying to defend that third place. But it looks like he's managing to hold on to it.
Exactly, yeah. Marshall obviously trying to make sure that he's got that, tries to keep that weight in hand, tries to keep that added ballast in hand. What last thing he wants to do is to outbrake himself, as he did potentially in going into turn 1 in qualifying, as he is on your screen now, the car number 33. All over the back, though, of Marshall is Brennan. Looks like he's going to try and make a move. Potentially, he's going to make the move going into the MotoGP hairpin. Not too sure.
Yeah, and we can just see Marshall's now activated his push to pass, so he's trying to compensate for that extra ballast up the hill there and use a bit more power with the push to pass there to try and stay in front of Brennan.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually see there's quite a lot of people using their push to pass, trying to make sure that they can gain track position and try and make sure they can actually also conserve the tyres. We're just now going to go on board. This is with Smith, I believe, in the number 23 car. A little bit of a gap to Brennan, to be fair. Wonder if that could just be where Smith is trying to gain some composure in the tyres, gain some heat into the tyres, and then he can start to push. We've got Sim Racing Holland on YouTube saying would love to join in these cars. It's a very, very cool racing series, and by the looks of it, these are very, very good and fun cars to drive.
Yeah, absolutely they are. I mean, the feedback from the drivers is pretty good. They're all positive about them, and they come back week after week to drive them, as we're down with Larmy in the 96 car, just trying to defend from press by the looks of it.
Exactly, just went a little bit wide. I think Press is going to have the move down going into turn 1. He is going to have the inside line, although Larmy, I believe, using his push to pass, but now Press is using his push to pass as well. Now they're both regenning all the way down into turn 1, I think.
Yeah, he's got the job done.
He has indeed got the job done. So that is Press moving up into P11. What are you going to watch out for now? As we see some contact, number 5, that was Hayden and Laramie coming together. Not entirely sure what happened there. I'm sure we'll get a replay of that. But now back on your screen, this is the battle for second place. We've got Brennan trying to go around the outside of Smith. This is going to be a very, very good move if he can make it stick. I don't think he can.
Yeah, Sorry, and that's Marshall out in the front with that ballast. So I'm wondering, obviously we missed something there because Marshall's managed to get up from third place that he'd got, and he's passed up into first now. So and he's running away with that ballast on.
I think at the moment Marshall's going to try and capitalise on this as much as he can, while Smith, Brennan and Stapleford are battling currently for P2, of which Smith is leading this train of 5 or 6 cars now. I think Marshall's going to try and run away with it. If he can manage his tyres and manage the ballast that he's got in the car and try and look after them while everyone's battling behind him, I feel that this could be quite good for Marshall. As we see Brennan trying to go around up the inside into the MotoGP hairpin, I think he's got the move done. He has indeed moved up to P2. I think running his team out a little bit wide, that's going to try and put him into the clutches of Stapleford. I think Stapleford's going to try and have the move. He's a very, very late lunge, but he's going to do it. I think Smith, unfortunately, went a little bit wide going into that right-hander, and I think he's just pulled back in. So this is a very, very close race. People are starting to use their tyres up already, though. This is one thing that people have got to be a bit mindful of, as we see, again, a little bit more contact. Stapleford trying to go up the inside of the last corner on Smith. Very, very brave move indeed. Didn't look like he could make it stick, though.
No, absolutely not. And just looking down the leaderboard, and we've got Nolla, who was pole sitter and leading at the start of the race. He's now down in 9th, so obviously definitely had an incident to put him that far back, and Marshall's been gifted that lead by the looks of it, as we're just seeing Stapleford trying to go up the inside of Smith, which turned into the outside. So Smith managed to defend that position there.
Yeah, exactly. This is the battle. This is the battle to watch at the moment. Be interesting to see what happened with Nolla. I'm sure we'll have some more details about that in a bit. Sorry, we've just been told we haven't got a replay on that. Not a problem, though. We've got a lot of action that we can deal with at the moment, as we see Stapleford again trying to go and trying to find every single gap imaginable, but Smith making that car as wide as it possibly can. It's almost as wide as the track. We have another little bit of contact from Stapleford there. He is all over the back of Smith. Stapleford's got to watch out, though. At the end of the day, tyres, got to make sure that you conserve your tyres, maybe use them towards the end of the race. Also got push to passes as well, remember. The green bar that you can see there, for those of you who have just joined us and those of you who don't know, the green bar that you can see next to the driver numbers, that indicates how many push to passes everyone has left for these 15-minute races. We've now got, Smith has got 9, Stapleford has got 8, but now we're going to see Stanfield's going to try and have a move, and he's going to try and gain on the action. So another little bit of contact there again. This is very much rubbing as racing, isn't it? Very touring car style here. And it's actually going to... Oh, sorry, Steve, go on.
I was just say absolutely, yeah. They're a bit of door rubbing, but it's all fair in love and war, as they're just trying to get through for those positions on the inside. And we're on board with O'Farrell now, who's just pushing up to 7th place. He's managed to get a move done on Neil, and he's battling all the way through the field. But we can see, as you were saying there, with the green bars and the numbers, some of the drivers are really eating through the push to passes, and some of them are conserving them. So it could get very interesting.
Absolutely, I think this is definitely going to be a race that is going to go all the way to the flag, especially as we can see, as Brennan puts in a 152.816. He could be catching up to Marshall. We'll have to see the gap. I believe he is. The gap's just over 1 second. Going to see by the next lap if that starts to come down. As we see the glowing brake disc on the front of Stansfield's car, then trying to maximise as much as he can out of his TT Cup car. Rear of the car looking a little bit worse for wear. I think there's been a little bit of bumping there, but as we see Edmondson now sitting behind. Obviously, these guys are teammates, I believe, judging by the livery. I'm guessing these are teammates Stansfield, Emerson, and Farrell. They are individuals. They are individuals.
They're all individuals. But yeah, it's Marshall looks to be he is losing time to Brennan, but Brennan's managed to pull the gap now on Stapleford, so he's in a comfortable 2nd place, which is allowing him to put those lap times in. Although it has to be said, Marshall has got the fastest lap of the race on his last lap with a 52.798, albeit it was only a few thousandths faster than Brennan. But yeah, it's going to be a really good race as this one.
Yeah, exactly. And the good thing is we've got another race to look forward to as well. It's even better, isn't it? Not only having one race with this much action, but having 2 races with this much action, especially with the reverse grid of the top 12, as we're going to see potentially Edmondson going to have a look going up the inside of Stansfield into the MotoGP hairpin. I think he's made the move, provided he doesn't go too wide. Although, to be fair, Stansfield's trying to hold it around the outside, ready for the inside of the next right-hander. I think he's going to be able to do it. Very, very close racing. Very fair racing from these two as well, as we see Edmondson back out of it ever so slightly. And that position has been regained by Stansfield. Cracking racing from both of them.
It's going to put him in prime position for a good slipstream, though, hopefully now, and we may just see them activate the push to passes as onto the straight now and just see what difference that makes to them.
Exactly. Looking at the front though, as we've just actually going to go on board with Edmondson, it didn't get the perfect run. He's going to lost a little bit of time there, although has got a gap to Neil behind him. Just looking at the top of the times though, Marshall is pulling away from Brennan, so Marshall is really managing his tyres and managing the car really, really well, as we see Nola with a lot of damage on the front end. That car has seen better days indeed. So really, he's just moved up into P6, I believe. So is he going to make any more position? He's 2.7 seconds back from Edmondson, and that's really the next big train, all the way up to Marshall. So it'd be interesting to see. He might have damage though that's really going to be hurting him. I think he might be losing potentially some more positions, as Neil's going to try and go around the outside, and he makes the move even before he gets to the corner. So Nola trying to manage the damage as much as he can, although I think it is starting to hurt him to the point where he is going to lose a few more positions.
Yeah, he's trying to battle, but it doesn't seem like he's lost some straight line speed, as it were, and he's really suffering. As under normal circumstances, I'm not quite sure how Farrell would have got that move done on him before they even got to the corner. But he's definitely driving with a lot of damage, but he's trying hard, and he has come back up from 9th, so he's gained a couple of positions from where he dropped down to. So he's still fighting hard, but as you can see now, it's probably more of a defence than an attack at the moment.
Absolutely, very much so. This is a damage limitation race for Nola here, as we see. I believe that's going to be Neil going to try and go around the Nola trying to go around the outside. My apologies. In the car number 3, I think he's going to do it. I believe no, he has back to have it. Going to try and make a late lunge. I think no. Again, Nola still managing, even with the damaged car, still managing some very, very good pace. He knows where to place the car. He knows where to put the car. To the point where he just needs to defend enough that he's not compromising his line so much. So really, really trying to maximise as much as he can out of this damaged car. Although I fear, coming down to the start-finish line, this is not the sort of track that you want damage on, especially when it's aerodynamics and you're going to be costing yourself a lot of speed. So it'd be interesting to see if he does lose any more positions. Doesn't look to be that bad though.
No, he's got slipstream on this occasion, or just about got a slipstream, and he activated the push to pass, and I think it's just done enough for him to defend that position again. But I think you're quite right, as soon as he runs out of push to passes, then he may start to struggle even more. Interestingly, he's got 2 more push to passes in the bag than the guy chasing him, so he's got a couple left in the bank, so to speak.
Exactly. I think for him it's going to be very much for trying to use those at the last possible moment to make sure that he can try and salvage as many positions as he can. As we've got on your screen now, this is the battle for P1. We've got Marshall and Brennan pulling away. They've actually got a fair bit of a gap, almost 2 seconds between Stapleford. So again, cracking drive from Marshall to really capitalise on also everyone battling behind him at the start of the race. But also, again, I don't keep saying it, he's running with, I believe, 50 kilos worth of ballast. So it's really hurt. It's probably hurting him, and it will start hurting him in the last couple of laps. So Brennan's going to maybe sit behind him, try and utilise and try and sort of make Dave work his tyres a little bit more. Although, looking at the push-to-pass numbers, Dave Marshall has got 7, and Brennan's only got 4 left. So Dave, again, being very conservative with the push-to-passes, will play a factor into the last couple of laps of the race.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think he's obviously had that clear air. He had a second and a half to 2 seconds at one point behind him. So there'll have been a couple of laps where he probably didn't even need to use it. He was just really saving them so that it's going to allow him to defend in this last 3 minutes and 30 odd seconds of the race. So literally we've got a couple of laps left, plus 1 after the time runs out, and it's going to be close. I think Dave, like I say, he's got 3 more push to passes than Brennan behind him, so he's got that opportunity just to try and stay in front.
Exactly. I think potentially, again, if Dave can try and hold back, it could very well be that Brennan's going to try and make the move on the last lap. As we see, that is Smith trying to come up the inside into turn 1 of Nola. It's the last of the late breakers, and it seems to be the late breaker was Smith, although Nola's going to try and come back again. Very, very quick, even with the damage that he has got. Although, again, Smith now trying to go around the outside of turn 3, leading into turn 4. If he can get a good run, which I don't think he has, Nola just managed to cut it off. Although Smith's going to try and get the inside, having a little bit of a look, making sure that Nola knows that he's there, which I'm very much sure he does. But at the moment, Nola still holding on to P7. He's got 5 push to passes. He's got 5 push to passes in hand. As we switch over to the leaders again, Brennan all over the back of Brennan. As we've just been told by race comms, we have got Dave Marshall's tyres are absolutely gone. So really, I think Brennan, it's only a matter of time, even though Marshall has got a lot more push to passes in hand. this could be very much only a matter of time. And Brennan really trying to make the most potential on the last lap. I believe this may be a last lap move as Marshall goes really quite defensive into the MotoGP hairpin. But interesting to see. We've got 2 more laps to go. How is this going to play out?
Yeah, I think Marshall could hang on to this. He's a canny driver and he knows how to defend. He's got those push to passes. He's going to use them. And if he keeps driving as defensively as he is, though, Stapleford, albeit 1.8 seconds back, that gap could come down very quickly in the last couple of laps if he defends too much. So I think Marshall will drive his line. He'll use the push to passes. We see they've both activated them now. Dave's trying to negate the slipstream and just run his own pace. He's going to defend it. I'll put my money on Marshall defending this one, to be fair.
Interesting indeed. Well, we're going to see, as you can see, Marshall having to brake so much earlier than Brennan, although Brennan just about manages to get it stopped. I feel this is going to be very, very close all the way up to the end, as we see again Smith trying to have a look on Nola, cannot find a way around. Nola again putting his car exactly where it needs to be, defending as much as he needs to, no more, no less. Fantastic racing from these guys and a very, very good defensive driving for Nola. Although, looking at his push to passes, he has still got 1 more. Smith doesn't have any left. So when Nola is going to use that, not entirely sure. Could be down again on that last lap. We see the glowing brake discs of the number 23 car. Really trying to stamp on this car and just trying to get it stopped. Use as much and maximise everything that he can to try and get past Nola. At the moment, though, it's still not working. Got to be careful, though, because Neil is now coming up behind him, as we now just got in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. This is the rear camera of Nola.
Rear camera of Marshall is that one, yeah. I mean, I was just going to say up ahead there with Nola and Smith. Smith's going to have to be careful because Neil's catching them as well, and he's got had 2 push to passes in the bank as well. So he's going to potentially find himself defending on the last lap as well as attacking.
I know this is really going to come down to the last lap again. We see Smith trying to go around the outside of Nola into the MotoGP hair, but I don't think he's going to. Actually, to be fair, he might very well make it move again. Nola just putting his car exactly where it needs to be. Smith using about all of the track and a little bit more. Tries to have a look up the inside of the last complex on that right-hander. Still can't quite manage to do it. I feel that Smith is going to have to really make a move and make it stick going down into turn 1. I feel that's going to be his best opportunity while Nola has lost a little bit of straight line speed. But yeah, fair play to Nola, really trying to have this race in hand for P7. As we see Smith go a little bit wide, that's going to open the door up for Neil as he goes soaring past. Smith might even lose a position to Stansfield as well, so that's somebody he's got to contend with. Again, you push too hard and something like that can happen. Going very, very defensive is Smith. I think he's going to make and lose a position to Stansfield, could even lose a position to Press as well that's directly behind him. As you see a little bit of contact, that was a very, very late break from that. May have been a little bit too late from Smith.
Certainly used him as a bit of an elbow rest there to get around the corner, didn't he? Elbows out and rubbing against his door panel there. But Marshall, he's got 7/10 in hand up in the front now as well, and they're on the last lap, I believe, now. So I think they crossed the line at just before 0. So this will be the last lap of the race.
Fantastic stuff. Well, what a race one we've got. We've still not got to the end of it yet. So as we all know with touring car racing, anything can happen. The top right hand corner of your screen is Mr. Dave Marshall just coming through the last complex, just going through the last half of the lap now. We've got Dave Jones as well, because this is what sim racing is all about. Absolutely awesome. Indeed it is. Indeed it is. Very, very good, close racing. A little bit of sort of rubbing racing, as they say, but at the same time, it's all, excuse me, it's all, people are given as good as they get, I think, and it is relatively safe. We have had a few little bit of incident. I think Smith, just went a little bit too deep. And obviously that has definitely hurt his race quite considerably there. But as we're going through, car number 33, just coming through the last couple of corners, 2 more to go. And then if he can keep it on the track, then Marshall will be taking the win for race 1. 1 more corner to go.
And he's on the push to pass as well.
He's got absolutely perfect push to pass right over the line. Absolutely fantastic. Dave Marshall takes the race win ahead of Brennan and Stapleford for P2 and 3. Edmondson rounding up P4 with O'Farrell in P5. Nola managing to get up to P6, obviously after that incident that Smith had. He dropped all the way down to P10. So we've got Neil Stansfield P7 and P8. Press in P9. Smith bringing up and rounding up the top 10. As we just see on your screen now, we've got Hayden bringing up in P13. I tell you what, as races go, that had pretty much everything.
everything and a little bit more, to be fair. It was great value for money was that one, and we can settle the debt afterwards. Dan, as I said, Marshall won that one, and that's where my money was. But yeah, absolutely fantastic driving from Dave. Really defended very, very well. Did what he needed to do, but not taking anything away from Dave Marshall. The racing throughout the grid was fantastic there. Very, very close and very, very hard. Majority of it was very, very fair. There was some elbows out, there was some rubbing here and there, but it's what we've come to expect with these TTs, and it's quite often what you see with the single make championships.
Absolutely. I think this is what we come to expect with touring cars in general as well, isn't it? It is rubbing is racing, and I feel that this can provide, as we have seen here, some of the best racing that you can actually have. As we see on your screen now are the final classifications. We've got Marshall, who takes the win, with Brennan, Stapleford rounding out the top three. O'Farrell in fourth. Nolla with a really, really good recovery drive all the way back up into P5. So very, very good drive from him, with Neil P6, Stansfield P7, Press 8th, Sutton 9th, and Smith rounding out the top 10, with Edmondson, Laramie and Hayden in P11th, in 11th, 12th and 13th respectively. And I believe we do have Dave Marshall in the commentary box now, waiting to be interviewed. So we are going to head over and have a chat with him.
Good evening, Dave.
How doing, Steve?
Yeah, very, very good. I mean, quality drive there, Dave. Obviously, you were starting fourth, I believe it was, on the grid, weren't you? So you had a reasonably good start. You got up to third place very quickly, and just made the most of it.
Yeah, I had a reasonably good start. I used push to pass as soon as I got into second gear, and I think I just caught Jordan Brennan. Just a bit of sleep down the first straight. So got him into turn one. I had to defend a little bit from Jordan in the next few corners, but luckily we managed to work together well enough in the next few corners to actually close the gap a bit to the front too. And then I don't really know what happened, if I'm honest. We were minding our own business down the back straight, and I was watching in my mirror, and then all of a sudden two cars in front of us doing a pirouette. So I don't know whether it was a bit of net code or whatever with lag and forcing the car into the back of the other one, or whether there was a slightest tap there to send one spinning. But got into first, and then managed to seem to pull away from John Brennan a bit after that, and put a few good laps in, and then I lost my front tyres, and then he came back at us, and then it got within about a second, and then his tyres looked like they went off, and I managed to just pull away a bit more again. So yeah, very, very interesting race, and the tyres seem to be really quite hard to judge when they're going to be on and when they're going to be off. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting race too.
Yeah, we noticed obviously the gap that you managed to pull out at the early part, and considering the ballast that you're carrying, it was impressive drive. But then when he managed to catch you towards the end, you still had a few push to passes in hand. So I'm guessing when you had that 2-second gap at one point, you'd probably weren't using the push to passes as much, and maybe just keeping them for a defence. Was that the plan?
Right. So I wasn't sure how many push to passes Brendan used. And I think I was about 3 minutes from the end of the race, and I had 6 left, and I thought, well, let's just monitor the gap and we'll see. And then got within about 2 or a minute and a half from the end of the race, and I thought, I might as well just use all 6 so I can get them used up, and that's how we managed to get that bit of gap. So to be fair to you, you say I pulled a bit of a gap there, but my lap times weren't really anything that impressive, really. I think I did one good lap, but realistically, my average lap time was just the same as probably the top 8 runners at the moment. So, it's going to be anyone's game second race, I think.
Yeah, I was just going to move on to the second race. I mean, tactics for a reverse grid, is it the usual sort of watching brief and just basically concentrate and getting around the first lap clean, and then see where things settle out, take advantage of any incidents as you go through, and then start to push?
I think you probably know by now I'm quite a calculated driver, so I'm trying to work out championship points and things like that as I'm driving. Basically, the way the drop scores are going to work, for anyone who doesn't know the championship, you're allowed one drop score from one of your races. So when you look at the leaderboard, for all I've got, I don't know, like a 4 or 5 point gap, the drop score I've currently got is 13 points to drop, whereas Jack Nolla, who's in second, only drops 10. So for all it looks like I've got a bigger gap, once you put everyone's drop scores into account, the championship is a lot closer, and it actually jumbles it up a bit. So I think keep clean, and as long as I can finish within a place of Jack, I'll be relatively happy. So that's the aim for race 2.
Well, great stuff, mate, and congratulations on the race 1 win. Very well deserved. Very good, well disciplined drive. Just good luck for the second race, mate. Keep it clean and stay out of trouble.
Cheers, Steve. Looking forward to it.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Bye.
So Dave Marshall lining up towards the back of the grid for race 2. Certainly going to be interesting with the reverse grid. We can just watch and wait now, I think.
Exactly, yeah. Reverse grid, and we just had Dave Jones on YouTube as well saying I think the reverse grid is a great idea. It really very much is. Obviously, something that follows with the touring car format. Having this reverse grid is a really, really good way to sort of spice things up a bit, really, and really give some variation. Also, as well, it gives some variation to the drivers, because now, potentially, they've got to completely change their tactics. You've got Nola now, for example, that's going to be higher up the field, as we've just got, you can see, getting on the grid now. So you've got Nola that's going to be further up the field. You've got Dave Marshall that's going to be, obviously, all the way back down in P12, sorry. So it's just going to completely change everything. And if we thought there was action in the first race, wait till you see this, as we have the lights going on now, as we're going to be just waiting for them to go out, and they have gone out. Good start again. Looks to be a clean, relatively clean start all the way around. I think whoever was that at the front really has lost out there, although actually no, in saying that, I take that back. But this is going to be potentially going 3 wide into turn 1. This is going to be very interesting. At the moment, we've got Laramie, who was in P1 on the screen at the moment, in the main centre of your car, 4 wide going into turn 1. That's not going to stick, surely, and it doesn't. Unfortunately, there's a lot big contact. Laramie losing out, unfortunately, being the very unlucky party in that race. It's all sort of jumbled up the grid already. So we've got Smith now leading, followed by Neil, O'Farrell, Stapleford, and Press now in the top 5. We see Marshall has put his way up to 8th. Not entirely sure where Jack is.
That looked unfortunate. Nola's down in 10th, so it looked like he maybe got caught up in that first corner incident. Not quite sure, but the important thing is that Marshall has got past his championship rival at the moment.
Exactly, yeah. So Marshall taking full advantage. He moves up to P7. Again, trying to take advantage as much as he can in the early stages of the race. Nola moving up to P9. We see Brendan now moving up to P5. As we've just got on your screen now, Press currently, who has just been passed by Brennan, so he's going to be trying to go up the road. He's 4 tenths behind Stapleford, so potentially a podium could be on here if he really starts to get the hammer down and make up some positions, at least the top 5. All a very big train at the moment. A little bit of a gap to P2. We've got 7 tenths between Neil and O'Farrell between 2nd and 3rd. And at the moment, apart from that, all looks really close, as we see that looks to be Marshall trying to move up into P6. I believe he's going to have the outside of that right-hander, but if he can make it stick and use up a bit more of his tyres early on, I think he is going to make the move. I believe he has. You can see just above them, just ahead of on board with Hayden at the moment. You see a little bit of sideways movement. That looks to be someone in the wall. Not too sure who that was. That was Press. Unfortunately, the rear end swapping ends on him and putting him into the barrier. Hopefully he hasn't taken too much damage. We've got Nola with a bit more damage on the front again. Doesn't look to be as bad as the last race, so I'm sure we're going to see Nola that's really going to start putting some pace in and really making up some positions. Looks to be a lot quicker in the straight line, so might try and make the move onto Edmondson going down into turn 1. He's just fallen out of the slipstream here, so it's going to be last of the late breakers, as we've just jumped on board with Stapleford, who's just been passed by O'Farrell, I believe, or a little bit of scrap for that as well. As Nola gets past Edmondson, he's now up to P7 on the hunt, just a second away from his championship rival Marshalls. This is going to be very interesting to see how these two fare and how these two work. Either they're going to work together to try and move up the field, or is it going to be straight from the word go fighting to try and gain track positions too?
Yeah, I think Nola will go all out to catch Marshall and attack. His eyes are on the prize of winning the race, obviously, as all these guys want to win this race. But first things first for Nola is to beat Marshall on track. That's the man he's got to outscore in every race, because he's now behind him in the championship.
Exactly. If we already see that Nola is now, instead of being just under a second, he's now 6 tenths behind Marshall. So he's really pushing that. But I think, Steve, exactly as you said, he's really trying to push to catch on the Marshall, as we see Stapleford trying to go around the outside of the right-hander of turn 9. That was very brave indeed. Unfortunately, couldn't make it stick. This is the battle for P4, as we're going to see Brennan Trimmer try and make a move. No, he sits behind him going into the MotoGP hairpin of turn 10. Very defensive, very tight line for Stapleford there. That may hurt him later in the race.
Yeah, he seemed to take a very defensive line, but he caught up to O'Farrell an awful lot through the mid-section of that corner. He carried a lot more corner speed, and although defensive, it still seemed reasonably quick. He's coming under massive pressure from Brennan now, and this is surely going to be a slipstream opportunity as Stapleford runs really wide in that corner. Indeed, he's actually getting very loose, and he's out onto the sand trap, and definitely cost him a couple of positions there. He was being pushed very, very hard.
Unfortunately, you just saw him just go through into the last 10, had a little bit of correction. The rear sort of tried to, the rear wanted to go through the corner first, which is obviously not what you want in a racing scenario. So unfortunately, he's dropped all the way down into P9. Very unfortunate. However, he had good pace, so we'll see if he can make up some position. He's got Hayden 1.2 seconds in front of him, so we're going to see if he can catch up. Looking through the rest of the field, as we can see on your timer screen on the left-hand side, we've got Nolla currently 2/10 behind Marshall. So this is going to be the defensive drive of Marshall's career in this season, and it's also going to be the attacking drive of Nolla's career in this season as well. So this is going to be the battle to watch, depending on how Nolla is feeling, and depending if he's going to try and, again, as you said, I'm sure he's going to want to just get this move done as quickly as possible, and also try and work his way up the field. He's only a few seconds behind the top three, actually only a couple of seconds behind the top three. So to be fair, at P3, if he has the pace of what he did in qualifying, a podium for him, if he can get past Marshall, is not out of reach.
No, absolutely not. And we just saw through the last corner but one there as he was chasing Marshall. Marshall got very loose through the corner. Nothing Nolla could do about it. There was no opportunity to pass, but it just goes to show how hard Marshall's trying in front of him as well. It's all very close. We've got Smith in the lead. He's only 8/10 up the road, which isn't a long way. Then we've got O'Farrell 1.4 seconds back. Brennan's only 6.6 back behind him, and then Marshall 7/10 behind Brennan. So, there's one mistake up front and you can soon gain a few places, and these guys are still pushing very, very hard as Nolla's just 4/10 behind Marshall.
Yes, exactly. This is going to be interesting. Also, as well, again, one thing to note with these push to passes, as we see, unfortunately, that is Laramie off. So his race has gone from bad to worse, unfortunately, leading all the way down, currently now in P13. Very much a shame there. Hopefully he can salvage potentially something. We've got Nolla as well with a 53.1. We've got a 53 dead from O'Farrell. Some very, very quick lap times being posted. Marshall with just a 53 dead. Very, very close to the 52s. So Marshall's starting to pull away a little bit, actually, one thing to notice. And also as well, Nolla with 9 push to passes left and Marshall with 11.
Yeah, and the other thing to notice, Smith in the lead is he's done a fastest lap of a 52.4, so that's a very quick lap time. Even with the push to pass, that's quick. And his last lap was a 52.9, so he's doing enough to be where he is and stay there, while these guys battle it out behind him. Obviously, they're impeding each other's lap times while they are battling, because it just doesn't give them a chance to drive the lines they want to drive and get the speed out of the cars that they can. But Brennan is really trying hard, 4/10 behind O'Farrell. Marshall's 6/10 behind him, and Nolla 6/10 behind him. So, as I said earlier, just one mistake from O'Farrell could see him drop 3 places.
Exactly, and at the moment, as we're talking about it, Brennan's all over the back of O'Farrell. This is going to be very, very interesting, because while these guys are battling, you've now got Marshall and Nolla, and you've got Marshall pretty much right up the back of, as we see, very, very wide there from Brennan. But now you've got Marshall going to try and have a look, darts to the inside, just to try, I don't think, try not to avoid running into the back of Brennan. And I believe that's going to be very, very brave. Brennan manages to hold it around the outside, trying to go all the way around the outside. Going into the, I think he's managed to do it, I think Brennan is going to move up into P3. He is. As we see O'Farrell leaving the door open for Marshall, who's going to have his nose and have a look to the inside. Doesn't quite do it for that right hander. However, he's got 2 more corners left. Backs out of it though, probably the widest move, making sure that he can gain as maximum speed as he can to try not get overtaken by Nolla, who's now only a 10.5 behind Marshall. This is going to be an insanely close race. As we see someone go off, that was O'Farrell going very, very wide into the last corner. Unfortunately, that's dropped him down all the way to P7, as we now got Nolla, who is we are currently riding on board with now. You can see Marshall's, his ballast is actually hurting him at this point. Last of the late breakers. I think Marshall's braking very, very late indeed. Is he going to try and pull up? He manages to, although Nolla driving around the outside of turn 1, getting track position for turn 2. Marshall's now got to watch out for Edmondson, that's going to try and come around the outside of him. Backs out of it though. I think this is going to be a race that Marshall and Nolla are going to need to have, and maybe Edmondson's going to try and sit behind and try and capitalise on it. This is just insane. I can barely breathe.
Absolutely, and as we said in race 1, Marshall's with the ballast he's got on board, he's doing an exceptional job of handling that ballast and being very, very competitive. But the car is very, very sort of loose under braking, and the back end likes to try and swap. So I think in the heavy braking zone, such as turn 1, it's a definite disadvantage for him. But he did his best, but Nolla just managed to take it around the outside, and it was an exceptional piece of driving from Nolla to do that. But it's not over yet. We've got Edmondson, Marshall and Nolla absolutely paying close attention to each other and still trying to put a move on.
Exactly. Well, I think Marshall just tried to have a look in the sort of mid-section, turns 5 and turn 6. Unfortunately, couldn't get the move done, although he's going to try and switch to the inside now. Nolla may just let him go at this point, and he may try and get him back in turn 1. He did it once. There's no reason why he can't do it again. As we see Marshall going a little bit deep into the corner, managing to get the car stopped again. They're going to try and go around the outside again, side-by-side action. And I think Marshall's going to be still side-by-side. This is insane racing from both of them. Clean, fair, just a little bit of rubbing. But again, as we expect from touring cars, they're still side-by-side. Edmondson's going to try and have the move up the inside of Marshall as well, which I think Marshall's going to lose out here. He's not. Do you know what? He's going to try and drive. He has managed to drive on the outside of Nolla, which is just insane. That's an insane piece of driving from Marshall. Fair play to him there.
Yeah, absolutely. They both activated the push to passes at exactly the same time. So, it's just going to be an interesting run down to turn 1 as Edmondson's trying to put a move on Nolla, and he's actually got his nose in front, but can he keep it in the braking zone?
I think this is, the last of the late brakes for turn 1. Nolla is very, very good on the brakes, although I believe Edmondson has indeed done it. So Edmondson's now up to P5. Marshall is now up to P4. So he's going to try and have to break away. He has got a bit of a gap. You've got 1.7 seconds now between. Oh, sorry, my apologies. You've got 1 second between Marshall and Edmondson. But now, looking on your screen now, currently you've got Nolla just going to try and potentially lose a place to Stapleford, who's going to try and have the move. Can't quite make it. Not too sure if Nolla's, again, trying to nurse some damage. His car has seen better days by the looks of it. It's got a little bit of damage, sort of general or bodywork. Nothing compared to the first race. Although, could this be Nolla's trying to, again, he's trying to either manage his tyres for the last couple of laps and really make that position, or is he trying to nurse some damage again?
No, I think, again, talking to the drivers before the race in the drivers' chat room, they were saying the front left tyre really does overheat if you push it very, very hard. And literally, it might be a case of we're seeing them pushing hard like they are when they're battling, overheating, losing grip, and they're just having to, run a lap or two, maybe not quite at 10 tenths, just to allow that tyre to equalise a little bit and come back.
I see. Well, that would definitely make sense as to why Nolla has dropped back off a bit again. Let that tyre cool down and start pushing again on Edmondson. We see Stapleford, cracking view that we can see going through the last half of the tracks. We've got Stansfield trying to make a move on Hayden. He's got 5 to push. He's got 5 push to passes left. Sorry, that was Stansfield. Again, my apologies. We've got Dave Jones saying on YouTube, "Wow, this is better than race 1." It is a very, very close race. We've got side by side, a little bit of contact, a little bit of bump in there from Stansfield and Hayden, but I believe Stansfield has indeed got the move. He moves up to P9. Very, very close from these guys as well, as we've got a flashing lights there of Stansfield. Not too sure why he's flashing. He's going to try and take the defensive line because Hayden's going to try and make a move back. That was very,
very late defending there, and that's, oh dearie me. Yeah, that was a little bit late to try and defend that move maybe, but it's certainly Rich Hayden that's struggled with and suffered with that one. But
unfortunately, not entirely sure what really happened there with Hayden. That was very, very interesting there. Like I said, a bit of a late defensive move there from Stansfield. So, not too sure. It looked to be, like I said, just that little bit too late, unfortunately. We've got Nolla back on your screen now. He's got a little bit of a gap now. He's got, 3 tenths between himself and Edmondson, and also 4 tenths between himself and Stapleford. So, could he potentially use up too much of his tyres at this point? I think this is another thing to consider. Following on from your point, Steve, the tyres on the front left are getting too hot. Has he overused them? Has he really taken so much out of his tyres now?
Yeah, maybe he's past the point of no return with them, as we see Hayden there has retired that car, which isn't surprising. It was a heavy contact into the pit wall and bounced across the track into the stadium wall as well. But while we're watching that, Smith and Neil, Smith in the lead is only 6 tenths up from Neil. They're lapping relatively close together in the 53s. Smith's last lap was a 53.9, Neil's was a 53.6. So, Neil's making headway on Smith at the moment, so we could be having a battle for the win in the last couple of laps, as we've literally got a couple of minutes left.
We could very much indeed. Also, one thing to note as well, Neil's got 5 push to passes left, whereas Smith has only got 2. So this again could be the last lap. Neil just uses all of the push to passes to try and catch up and to try and make a move. The battle in the top right, in the bottom right corner of your screen, is still for P5. You've got Edmondson, Nola, and Stapleford. Nola tried to go around the outside of the last sort of complex of corners, couldn't quite do it. Again, Edmondson at the moment is still managing his tyres, and he's really, as we see Hayden's car parked up on the left-hand side, as well out of the way, so we know yellow flags or anything. Is we're going to have Nola going to try and make a move, switches from the inside to the outside, going to try and do exactly what has happened to him. Unfortunately, a little bit of contact, still more contact there, as unfortunately Edmondson was a bit worse off from that. Not entirely sure if that could. I know there was contact initially, a little bit more contact. I think Edmondson just caught the car wrong. I think as he was turning around, as that contact sort of jumped the car up, rear just then rotating the span around. So very unfortunate for Edmondson. He's dropped down to P9. So that has promoted Nola to. Nola hasn't changed because Stapleford has now jumped into 5th. So this is again incredibly close racing, and it goes to show as well, as you were saying, Steve, one mistake and one person can lose 2 or 3 places, and the other person can gain 5, 2 or 3, as we see with Stapleford.
Yeah, that's the risk when the battling is so close, but isn't it great to watch? And again, just going back to the leader, Smith, it looks like he's responded to Neil's charge, because he did a 53 dead on the last lap, and Neil's was a 53.3, so he's back up to a full second in front at the moment now, as we're on board with Smith looking back at Neil. So it looks like he might just be measuring that gap, and he might have the pace to bring this home. Neil's got an extra couple of push to passes in the bag, as you pointed out earlier, so if he's going to use them, he needs to get it done now and close that gap up. But you're missing the apex like that's not going to help his cause.
No, exactly. The times are coming down though. Neil was only now 8/10. I'm not entirely sure what a push to pass will give you. Could it be potentially 8/10? Not entirely sure. However, we are going to find out. Smith has gone a little bit wide, actually, we've just been told, so he's going to lose a little bit more time as well, going all the way down this straight. That's going to be unfortunate for him, as we've got a 53.2 from both Smith and Neil. However, Smith was still a little bit quicker, as we've got Smith has used all of his push to passes now, so that's no more push to passes for Smith. We've got Neil that's got 2 more to use. He is using one. Where he's going to use them, I don't know, but he's only got a lap to use it. This is going to be very, very close. If Smith can hold his line, he can do the same lap times that he's been doing before. Smith will get it. Gap's now moved to 1.1 seconds, as we've got Neil now using another push to pass. I think it's going to be a little bit more in vain. You may as well use them as you've got them, though. But I think as long as Smith can just keep to doing what he's doing, keep his line, keep his braking point, keep composed and keep relaxed, he should take the win for race 2.
Yeah, Neil's just missing his apexes. I'm wondering if his tyres are shot, because he doesn't seem to be running a very tidy line at the moment. But the other man to watch is Marshall, who's only sort of 4/10 off Brennan at the moment. Yes, we're on the last lap, but nothing's impossible when Marshall's at the wheel and on the charge, as we can see now.
Exactly, yeah. Marshall just having a bit of a look going into turn 7. Again, turn 8's all flat out all the way up to turn 9. There'll be a slight lift, potentially a little bit of a break, depending on how the tyres are faring. It could be a move. If Marshall can get a good run going out of turn 9, I feel that there's going to be a move into turn 10, and there's also going to be a move potentially into turn 12 if he can't get it right. He's going to try and stick on the inside. Potentially what he's actually going to do is try and make a late dive. Had a bit of a look, hasn't made a move yet. He's trying to sort of upset Brennan there, but he's going to try and go on the inside. He's going to put him around the outside for the right-hander of turn 12. If he can hold it, though, if his tyres are there, I don't think they are, though. He's going to try and do the cutback potentially. Is he going to try and do the cutback? He doesn't seem to do it. I think that could have been his last overtaken opportunity, and I believe that is it. Although, we've got Brennan taking a very defensive line. Not entirely sure why he was doing that. This is going to be very close on your screen now. He's going to try on the outside, and we've just got Smith, who is going to take the race win for round 2. And as I believe we have got, that was a photo finish, just looking on the timing screens, that Marshall has got it. Marshall got P3.
Wow. By 0.016 of a second. It doesn't get a lot closer than that. And I said, didn't I, Marshall will keep pushing to the end. But Smith, well done to Smith, first place. He knew what he had to do. The gap did come down to sort of 3/4 at one point, but then he just put the hammer down and got that gap back up again, and there wasn't much Neil could do about it. And as I said, I think Neil's tyres had gone because he was driving very wide. He was missing a lot of apexes. He was pushing so hard just to try and keep up with Smith, I believe. So yeah, absolutely awesome race from all the guys. Some very close racing in the midfield and very, very entertaining.
Exactly, some incredibly close racing for both race 1 as race 2. I completely agree with yourself, Dave, on YouTube. That was definitely more intense than race 1, especially from a commentator's perspective. I'm sure, Steve, that you would agree as well. that was just that was incredible to watch. I mean, Marshall to get P3 on that last corner with this ballast that he's carrying, as you can see on the final classification now for the race. We've got Smith with a fastest lap with a 1:52.4, very, very quick indeed. Neil in P2, and then Marshall miraculously in the top 3. Brennan in P4, Noller in P5, Stapleford in P6, O'Farrell P7, Edmondson P8, Press P9, and Laramie bringing up the rear in P10. Unfortunately, not the best race from him, considering he started at the front. That race did go from bad to worse for him, but all in all, Steve, what an incredible round.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're commentating on a race like that, you have to sort of prod yourself and remember to speak, because you do want to just sit back and watch the action, because there were some fantastic driving standards in there, some great respect. Going 2x2 through some of those corners are absolutely flat out on the pace. The tactics of the push to pass come into play. We had some, the first corner they were going in 4 wide, which didn't quite work out, but sometimes going in 3 wide and definitely going through them 2 wide. Absolutely awesome driving from all of these guys, and it's just top class racing at VRRC.
Absolutely, all in all, that was an incredible round, and yeah, just some incredible racing. This has been my first time commentating on the VRRC TT Cup, and it's been amazing. It's been absolutely fantastic. It really, really has. Excited to be able to potentially come back for more of them. So I think really looking ahead, what we got looked ahead to the next round. So round 4, I believe, is it Imola or is it Monza? No, it's one of the two.
We have Imola coming up next week, yes. So, Imola's a fantastic track, and that should throw up some great racing. It's a technical track, and it's just needs some calculated driving there. The push to passes will be used. It should throw up some really good racing from these drivers in these cars.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, Imola, a cracking stream. A cracking track. It really, really is. I think there's probably more overtaking opportunities, I feel, at Imola than there is at Catalunya. Not saying though that we see some amazing overtaking places at Catalunya, which was what we have seen for these past 2 races. I just feel that Imola, there could be even more overtaking and even more action in this, which is going to be, again, absolutely insane. So, no, credit to all the drivers. That was some fantastic racing, some close racing. Sometimes, a little bit too much contact, and I feel that unfortunately it did go a little bit worse for some people. Obviously, some people benefited massively. All in all, I think, as you say, Steve, cracking racing, really fair, really clean. I said for the most part, and just a fantastic racing. Catalunya has provided some incredible racing. I find that sometimes at Catalunya, especially with F1, can be a little bit sort of, I wouldn't say boring, but it's just less eventful. Something like touring cars, any track, it just provides some great racing, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing with the start-finish straight and the overtaking, the push to pass sort of negates the slipstream somewhat. So when a car is in the slipstream, if both drivers use the push to pass, the trailing car, when it pulls out of the slipstream, it doesn't gain anything if the other car's still on push to pass. It does negate it a little bit. So there is that drawback, I suppose, of the push to pass for the overtakes on the straights. But generally, you'll agree, I think all in all, the whole package of the TTs, the fixed setups, the reverse grid, the push to pass, it's absolutely fantastic racing.
It has, absolutely. And as I believe we are just being told, we have got some interviews from the racers who have been on the podium. So we are going to jump over there and have a chat from the guys on their perspective of both race 1 and, more importantly, the second one.
Yeah, I'll follow your lead. Let's go down there.
Brilliant. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we doing?
How are we doing, boys?
Not too bad at all, thank you. I tell you what, Dave, start with yourself. Honestly, the amount of times I nearly passed out because I was forgetting to breathe because I was talking so much. It's just the amount of action, and I want to ask you, how did those last 3 corners go for you to manage that P3?
I don't know. If I'm honest, I came up. I was starting again on Brennan the last few laps, and I think I've got a little bit more left in my tyres than what he did. And then I can't remember where I saw it, but I got a glance that he had about 2 push to passes or something on the last lap. and I noticed he used 2 of them. So he used one going across the line, used one of them at the back. So I knew I had a chance somewhere of getting them. And then, yeah, I thought I'm going to have to put it around the outside, which fair play to Brendan. He could have quite easily just shown me the gravel trap on the last corner, but he didn't. And when I pressed push to pass and he didn't, I thought he hasn't got anything left. And somehow got the 3rd place, which, yeah, fair chuff for that one, if I'm honest.
Absolutely, no, absolutely. Really, really incredible stuff. And both myself and Steve, you know, we were just on the edge of our seats for the entire race. And that, you know, for yourself as well as everyone, it was just, there was so much action going on. Is this giving you a bit of a confidence boost now for the next round going to Imola?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely looking favourable for the championship now. It's looking quite good. Yeah, I mean, Imola's always been a favourite track of mine. I think the TTs are going to be particularly leery around it with the curb hits and what have you. But it's whenever you get these TTs up there, some serious speed, that the back end seems to get a bit lively. So yeah, Imola could be interesting. But that mid battle that went on during that race between me and Jack Noller, my God, like that's just racing respect. Like, I put around the outside of him a few times and he gave us room, and he did the same. And, you know, it's one thing trying to push for position and, you know, trying to win hands over, but you know, when you have racing respect and you know, you just actually enjoy the racing side of things instead of always trying to get the best result possible, then, you know, that's when the best action comes out, really.
Absolutely, no, fantastic. Steve, anything to add from yourself?
Just great driving, Dave. As you say, you've said it all there, buddy. Great respect shown, and there's some fantastic driving from all of you guys out there. The midfield battle in particular was absolutely awesome for most of that race. It didn't end until you crossed the line by, I don't know, a few thousandths of a second for 3rd place. Absolutely fantastic, you know, and that's not taking anything away from the guys that won the race, because you know, the 2 guys in front of you, it was just awesome racing throughout the field tonight. Brilliant, fantastic.
I mean, we were lapping a fair good pace, to be honest with you. We were lapping sort of the 53 zeros, and sort of Garth was my sort of reference point, if you like, and lap after lap he was in the same place, so we weren't really gaining on the front 2. Mega lap from Isaac doing I think he did a 4, which is outstanding pace really, with a full tank of fuel on. Yeah, there was no catch in the front 2, but what a battle.
Yeah, well done, mate. And you know, I know that you never give up. You know, you always push, and on this occasion, that's really paid dividends for you. So well done to Dave Marshall, and a well-deserved 3rd place. Cheers, Steve. Thanks, Dan.
Cheers, Dave. Fantastic stuff. I think we're going to move on to Garth Neal. Garth, how are you doing?
Delighted after that one, to be honest.
So from yourself, in terms of I suppose rounding up base, you know, races 1 and 2, how was it? What was it like for you for the whole round at Catalunya?
I was glad to move forward a couple of places in the first race. Didn't think I was going to get that far up, to be honest. In the second race, I think I started about 7th or 8th. Bit of carnage in the first corner. Managed to come straight through the middle of about 4th minute into 2nd. So I was just hoping to prove that I had pace up front, like I had a Brands when I was leading, but I made a silly mistake, so it was good redemption.
Good, no, absolutely. I think it was definitely one of those things where, you know, the pace was definitely there. Really was. You know, what was Catalunya like for you? Is it one of a track that you prefer, or is it something that is it a track that you're glad now it's out of the way with?
I had no preference coming in, but I knew it was more on pace here than the other places with the other guys. I guess maybe that was the third race, you know. It was only my first day using online. I was using VR for the first time as well, racing. That really helped as well. See the impacts better, more consistent lap time, so well done, David.
Brilliant stuff, absolutely.
Yeah. I was going to say, Gath, you know, towards the end of that race, when you were sort of looked like you were catching Isaac a little bit at one point, you did a couple of laps that were a little bit quicker, but then he seemed to respond and go. But from where we were watching, it looked like your tyres had gone towards the end of the race as well. It really looked like you were struggling to sort of get the car turned in and maintain the line through the corners. Was that the case?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. The tires are in the ground. I never look at the tires. I just try and make every lap the fastest. I think that's just the best way to do it, personally. I don't try and manage things. Just keep.
You'll have to forgive me for saying you were looking a bit scruffy towards the end on the commentary then, mate, because it definitely looked a little bit like your tyres were gone, from where we were watching. It looked like you were struggling just a little bit to keep it as tight as maybe Isaac was in front of you. It just seemed to be that was making the difference. But nevertheless, as you say, it was a fantastic drive to come from where you did to finish second on the podium. And again, well deserved, mate. Great drive.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. Cheers.
To the podium winner, race winner Isaac Smith, and well done, mate.
Cheers, it definitely wasn't easy.
No, well, we understand you were using new equipment this evening, obviously not on a rig you're familiar with as well.
Yeah, so I've been today to Rich at VRRC, so I'm using his equipment today, which is amazing, to say the least. It's very different to what I use, so obviously I'm using a direct drive today, and normally I use VR, but I've been using the screen, which I found quite difficult to figure out. I'd say we was on for a podium in race 1, but sadly we got a little tap, and yeah, we came through in the second race for a win, so it was a good night.
Yeah, so it's got to be you got to take away the fact that is a great result. As you say, when you're used to VR, it's very difficult to go back to a screen because you do seem to lose that sort of depth of perception a little bit with it. And as Garth just saying there, the VR does seem to allow you to be more consistent. But no, well done, mate. I mean, absolutely fantastic. And were you aware at one point that Garth was catching you towards the end and you sort of put the hammer back down again, or was it just you were running your own race out in front anyway?
So I was mainly trying to obviously manage the gap to the amount of boost that we'd be able to use. So I was using the boost in the same position usually every lap to try and get the most out of the boost. So that's really what paid off in the end. If I didn't do that, I think Garth would have been on my bumper and may have had a chance to overtake me.
Yeah, great stuff. I mean, are you looking forward to the next round at Imola?
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Great stuff. Anything from you, Daniel?
No, just going to say, Isaac, really, really well done in race 2. To be fair, considering you were adjusting to completely new equipment, absolutely fantastic. So very, very well done indeed.
Thank you.
So, and I believe as well we do have Mick Sutton in here as well. So Mick, if you can hear us, how are you getting on? Oh, I believe he could very well.
He's muted by the looks of it, I think.
Hello.
Oh, there we go. Mick, how are you doing?
Well, not as well as I'd expected, that's for sure.
In terms of the races for yourself, how did the whole? Well, I suppose, how did the round go? How did round 3 go for you? Sort of as a summary from your perspective.
From my perspective, I'd sort of been practicing all week, and thought I was a bit closer to the pace than it appeared I was last night. But yesterday, I actually took delivery of a new wheel, and I decided to use it tonight. And to be honest, I was about nearly a second a lap slower than I'd been all week. So it's probably my fault. I ended up last in both races.
Right. I mean, to be fair, new equipment can be a little bit tricky to sort of get used to, and I'm sure with time that will come back. And you've got a bit of time now to test for the race for the next round at Imola. Are you looking forward to Imola? Is that a track that you're strong at? Do you enjoy driving it?
I'll be honest, I've never driven it. I am very, very new to this. This is only my second ever race. Yeah, I'm really new to the whole sim racing thing, and to be honest, it's a lot harder than I expected it to be. So it's good. It's really enjoyable. It's keeping me focused. Let's put it like that.
Brilliant. Well, fantastic stuff. I think and hoping, obviously, these 2 races that you've done so far, hopefully the love for sim racing is only ever growing stronger.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I wouldn't be doing it, and I've invested a bit of money now in a triple screen setup and a new wheel and pedals and upgraded the PC. So I'm in for the long run, and I understand that there's a lot of lads here that have been doing this a lot longer than me, and I don't think I shall ever be pushing for race wins. but as Dave mentioned earlier on, I think it was Dave, it's about sort of, racing. It's about clean racing, and just trying to be the best you can. And there's always a race to have. It doesn't matter if you're at the front or the back.
Exactly, and that's and that's one thing. Like I said, this is actually my first race commentating on the VRRC, and it's been racing throughout the field. As you say, there's always a race to be had, and there's always a battle that you can be having with someone. But no, never say never, mate. You never, pace will come naturally. You never say never. So fantastic. Well, Mick, really glad that you've enjoyed this round at Catalonia, and we both, myself and Steve, wish you all the best. Anything to add, Steve?
Yeah, just to say well done, Mick. You didn't come last at everything. According to the practice times, you put the most laps in practice with over 100 laps. So well done, mate.
well, there you go. You see, I obviously need the practice. But what I will say, just before we go, if that's all right, is that everybody here, Rich and Dave and everybody else, has helped me get going to the point where I'm at now. And I wouldn't be where I am, albeit towards the back, without all of their help and support. It's been great, and I'm happy to be part of the community.
That's fantastic to hear, Mick, and it is a reflection on this community, and it is a great community, and it just goes to show with the banter that's had, the racing, the respect that's shown, and yeah, like you say, a fantastic community, and very competitive, and I'm sure you'll improve with time. You're obviously prepared to put the laps in, so good luck with it, mate. And
when you get to my age, you're not sure how much time you've got left, mate. But never mind, we'll have to see.
All I'd say to that then, Mick, is just make every lap count, buddy.
Listen, thank you very much for having me on. Cheers.
Thank you, Mick.
Cheers,
good night.
Mate.
Good night.
Fantastic interview to finish off there with Dan. I'm sure you'll agree.
Absolutely, no. It's been fantastic. It's always good to see. It's always good to see new people coming into the sim racing world. I think what this also means as well is just there is no stopping sim racing now. I think obviously with the events that have happened this year, sim racing has just come on leaps and bounds, and I really think it's moving forward like a freight train now. There is no stopping this whatsoever. It's just going to get bigger. It's going to get better. It's going to get more exciting. There's going to be more people involved. It's just it's now never ending. It's just going to snowball into something that could very well be, dare I say it, potentially in the maybe not so distant future. It could be something that almost rivals what real racing has become.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are interested in getting involved, obviously jump in, look us up on the internet, www.virtualrealityracingclub.com. If you're watching us on YouTube for the first time, please don't forget to subscribe, like the stream, and click the notification bell, because there's lots of racing that comes out of this channel, and it's all of a very high standard, very competitive, very close, and it's absolutely awesome to be involved with. So yeah, please like, subscribe and follow as much as you can. It all helps the community.
Exactly, as Steve said, just to echo that statement, at the end of the day, the support that everyone has, that is watching, that is commenting, that is liking everything, all the support that you guys provide is an absolutely amazing thing, and it just helps the community grow. And no, it's been absolutely fantastic. Well, Steve, it has been an absolute pleasure. It's also been a pleasure to everyone, to speaking with everyone that's been watching. And I just want to say another big thank you to everyone that has watched this round. But we're going to wrap it up here. So from myself and Steve Proudley, this is the end of the round 3 of the Virtual Reality Racing Club at Catalonia. All being well, we will see you for the next round at Imola. So take care, everyone, and stay safe.
Good night.
The inside of Coates.
Barker gets too heavily involved.
And that's Whitehead and Coates.